Is Breaking Bad really the best TV series ever?
It may be the only television show that is virtually flawless. That doesn't mean it will appeal to all, but it commits no errors in telling the story. That in itself is incredible. It gets even better. Walter White, the main character, is everyone who feels cheated in life. Walter is constantly measuring his potential to the results. People understand that. No matter how successful your life may be, there is some area where your dreams faded, and life handed you the moldy cheese sandwich. Walter is consumed with getting the dream back, and making it into a reality. It is hard to see at first as it is so subtle, but Walter is an unsatisfied man, leading a mediocre life when he feels he was bound for greatness. We meet him when he is faced with his end of the road that turns into his reinvention as he discovers the dream is still alive and kicking. The show never condescends to its audience by giving us deus ex machinas or absurd miracles that defy physics. On one hand, we have an almost ridiculous storyline: dying man becomes meth cooker to support his family. On the other hand, we believe it, and even cheer Walt on for a while as we know what it is like to get ripped off by insurance companies, too many bills, lousy pay, needing a second job, hiding certain information from our loved ones, and feeling unfulfilled. If the American dream is going to screw us over, then let's cook some meth since we can't get money and our needs met the legitimate way. The showrunner, Vince Gilligan, understood the frustration within every middle-aged provider. He also understood the fear of young people entering the job market who do not want to end up like Walter White or Jesse Pinkman when we meet them in Season 1. The writing and acting is superb. You just can't forget these characters or the things they do and say. The show starts off as a comedy that moves like a satire on the American dream. Then it gets serious. Many of us can't stand Walt by Season 3, for me, it was 2, but we can't stop watching him and trying to predict his next move. The man is fascinating. The showrunner had the courage to cast a disabled actor to play a disabled son who learns to live with his condition just fine, making us look at our own attitudes on disability without moralistically pounding us on the skull. It shows us Flynn. It doesn't tell us how we need to feel about him. That felt like a slice of life to me. The story is so tightly written, yet it allows for flexibility. The character, Jesse Pinkman, wasn't supposed to last the first season. Vince Gilligan saw the potential between Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston. So he rewrote the screenplay to make Jesse a main character. Gilligan's instincts for this show were brilliant, and that is one of the finest examples. It is the rare show that is able to appeal to many kinds of viewers, not just the intellectual or the fatalistic or the lovers of dark humor. It took a while in the ratings, but most people who watch this show are very impressed, even those that see television as lowbrow and common. Even though The Wire showed people that television was a medium for art, not escapism, Breaking Bad decided to remind us in case we forgot. Nothing felt contrived. Season finales are the weakness of most good shows. However, Breaking Bad ended the show with the same class that it gave us in every episode. Everyone's arc is concluded in a way that corresponded with the character. The story is grim, but allows a sliver of hope. The show wasn't going to lie to us, and tell us everything was going to be fine. It also wasn't planning on turning the storyline into one big horror festival. There were no extremes. Everything just fit, and we all felt like we had watched a work of genius. Like The Wire, Breaking Bad will stand the test of time. I predict the same for Better Call Saul. Breaking Bad is one of the greatest series ever made, if not the best. I would like to present some points regarding the show as why is it considered to be the best. 1. Beautiful visuals. Along the journey of 5 seasons, we get to see a lot of stunning visuals which are a treat to watch on the TV screen. The rich countryside. 2. Characters. The show has given a lot of memorable characters, each with perfect actors to reprise the role. Walter White, a high school chemistry teacher to a drug lord. Gus Fring, a dreaded villain who risked his own life with the Mexican cartel. Saul Goodman, he has the best advertisement and the tagline, Better Call Saul. He was good that he has his own show now. Then we have Skinny Pete, Mike, Tuco, Hank, etc. Every character has his purpose neatly defined and executed. 3. Narration. The story gets into our head like slow poison. The screenplay neatly connects the dots. My favorite moment was when the opening scene in Season 5 is set to be the climax of the season after 15 episodes. That's amazing. 4th, the script and dialogues. They have written such meaningful quotes and shrieking ones as well. The words keep knocking in our heads. 5. The closure. The series ends on a high note. The lead Walter White happily dies. The series comes a full circle. It's not open-ended as many other series. You simply cannot give a better closure than the expression of Walter White. The answer lies within the question itself. Breaking Bad, created by Vince Gilligan, surely lives up to the fame and fan base it has garnered over the past few years since it was first aired. Some of the few reasons that I believe are the major factors behind show's massive success are: 1. Touching storyline. An honest chemistry teacher working his ass off to provide for his family one day discovers that he is suffering from cancer and his days with his loved ones are next to none. Burdened by the thought of leaving behind nothing but a series of debts and an emotional vacuum for his family, he decides to tap into his chemical prowess to synthesize methamphetamine, commonly known as meth. Thus begins his journey as a small-scale drug manufacturer to a countrywide known drug kingpin. 2. Enthralling direction. One of the most applaudable aspects of this show is the direction of every single episode. Every character plays its part with absolute perfection, as if completely devoted to put out their best foot forward so that the bigger picture turns out to be more lively and convincing. The assembling of a series of events, one leading to another, is simply superb. 3. Mind-boggling abstracts. Every episode starting with the projection of an insignificant-looking item, a leaking faucet, swimming pool, etc., that would force its viewers to question, what's the meaning of all this, only to be baffled by its significance at the end of the episode. 4. Amazing cinematography and story-relevant locations. Vince Gilligan surely teaches us all some new, possibly never tried before camera shots that makes the entire episode more grasping and eye-catching. The locations make the entire story appear very realistic and believable. 5. Portrayal of reality. I believe the biggest reason for the widely appreciated accolades of this show is the touchdown with reality. Major issues such as teenage drug abuse, money laundering, violence due to territorial acquisition, murder, deaths due to overdose, etc., all have been voiced vividly and logically. In fact, the show is a living, breathing example of brutal reality, the fact that there are these issues that demand immediate attention. Warning: there will be spoilers. In my opinion, Breaking Bad deserves the hype it gets. I've watched the entire show around 10 times, and I never get bored of it for some obscure reason. In short, Breaking Bad has been one of the best TV shows because of the following reasons. 1. The acting. Bryan Cranston, Aaron Paul, Dean Norris, Anna Gunn, Giancarlo Esposito, etc. have really nailed their roles, especially Giancarlo and the twin brothers who play as the cousins. 2. The story. The plot is overall simple. It's about a timid, overqualified high school chemistry teacher who turns to manufacturing meth with his former, underachieving student after he's diagnosed with lung cancer to leave behind money for his family. However, the overall plot is quite complex and a bit mysterious too. 3. Vince Gilligan, the director, took risks. Now, Breaking Bad could be similar to any other cookie-cutter edgy TV show about drugs. But it somehow manages to be unique, and there are several cheesy dialogues which work well, because of their delivery. 4. Character development. The show has complex characters. There are barely any cartoonish villains, except Jack Welker and his neo-Nazi gang, who seemed quite one-dimensional to me. Nearly every character is fun. I'll delve deep into several characters. Walter's transformation from a timid chemistry teacher to a ruthless drug kingpin was tragically beautiful. Even his death was poetic. He died in a meth lab. And Walter's a complex character. He has his Heisenberg side and his family side. On the surface, he seems like an ordinary man, and no one could have guessed that he was the drug kingpin of Albuquerque. He's ruthless, egoistic, extremely manipulative, a very convincing liar, somewhat sociopathic, and a megalomaniac. He never intended to earn $47,000 per year considering his qualifications. All his life he felt cheated, and was jealous of the success of Elliot and Gretchen. It was due to his own fault that he left the company he co-founded. Besides that, he manipulated Jesse nearly the entire series. Jesse was a loyal and useful pawn to him. He killed 2 criminals in self-defense, killed 2 more to save Jesse, let Jane die, which indirectly led to the devastating plane crash that killed around 200+ people, coerced Jesse into killing Gail, poisoned a kid, indirectly blew up a nursing home, shrugged off the murder of a kid by Todd, orchestrated the murder of 10 witnesses to save himself, and wiped out the entire neo-Nazi gang. All because of his ego and his pride, except the last one. It is pretty fun to witness the transformation of Walter from a timid protagonist into an antagonist. Vince Gilligan wrote his character in such a way that you feel guilty for supporting Walt, even though he's done a lot of horrible shit. Then comes Jesse. Known for his famous, bitch, catchphrase, Jesse evolved a lot too. In the start of the series, he was this impulsive loser who was trying to make easy money via meth. He was fine until Jane got him hooked to heroin. After Jane's death, he blamed himself for her death, and Walter's magic worked, he cleaned up. Everything was fine again, until Tomas shot Combo and the street dealers murdered Tomas. Jesse, being impulsive, tried to plan the murder of the dealers, and Walt saved him in the last minute. Then came Gail's death. This was a very significant point in Jesse's transformation. Walt coerced him into murdering him, and he reluctantly murdered Gail. The murder had a deep impact on him and he became a habitual meth user, partying heavily, and as Mike remarked, "You're on thin ice, you little shithead." Jesse was becoming increasingly incautious. Then came Brock's poisoning and Walt's manipulations at play again. Jesse was somehow convinced that Gus had to die. Further, in Season 5, Drew Sharp's murder really messed up Jesse's mind. The final nail in the coffin was his horrific realization that Walt poisoned Brock to turn him against Gus. But the ultimate nail in the coffin was Walt's confession that he let Jane choke over her vomit and Andrea's murder. A impulsive loser turned into a broken, depressed, paranoid and drug-addicted guy who lost everything he had because of Walt. Hank was another fun character. He was everything wanted to be, the loudmouth, alpha male of a brother-in-law who had a flashy DEA job and was brilliant at it. He was obsessed with catching Fring as well as Heisenberg, and paid the price for it, along with Steve Gomez. His PTSD after Tortuga's severed head on a tortoise blowing up was quite realistic. He faced panic attacks in the elevator and was temporarily crippled after his face-off with the cousins. Hank transformed from a loudmouth alpha male to a severely broken man with PTSD and died heroically. Gus was by far my favorite character. On the surface, he was extremely polite and was a friend of the DA. Keep your friends close, and your enemies closer. His business ran like clockwork, until Walt messed everything up. He was just a small, no-name guy who wanted to score big, and due to his insult to Don Eladio, lost his friend and partner Max. That transformed Gus from an ordinary guy to a very efficient and ruthless sociopath. We witnessed his brutal side when he slashed open Victor with a box cutter. Extremely in control of his emotions, Gus was the perfect antagonist, at times quite scary too. There are many other characters, like Mike, the cousins etc., who are brilliant, but this answer will become too long if I individually highlight so many characters. 5. The Walter-Jesse dynamic. The relationship between the duo was akin to that of a father-son. Walt saw Jesse as a loyal and impulsive loser, and manipulated him brilliantly throughout the entire series. There were a lot of hilariously dark scenes in the show, Jesse placing Emilio's body on a plastic tub, and the HCl melting through the floor, covering the entire area with Emilio's blasted remains. The fly episode, where Walt spends an entire episode catching a fly, the initial BB seasons where Walt and Jesse escape their way out of hilariously dark situations, etc. 6. The violence and the overall dark tone of the show. BB wasn't overtly gory and violent. It used violence properly, the scene where Jack's gang killed 10 witnesses in a 2-minute window and many more sequences. As I said before, Gilligan didn't hesitate to take risks, and BB is shown to be a gut-punching show. It takes these likable characters and destroys them in extremely tragic ways. 7. The music, the soundtrack was perfection. The meth cooking montages, the prison deaths, and basically the entire show has perfect music, including the lyrics. 8. The cinematography, top-notch camera work in general, and overall the show was extremely well produced. Every single scene was well crafted. One might disagree, but these are my opinions. I think a lot of people like the show for similar reasons.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future also. Don't forget to like and subscribe to you never miss a video.